Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this episode, let's talk about spoons. Spoons are one of the oldest categories of fishing lures out there. You know, very simple hunks of metal that catch bass like crazy. They've been around for forever. And I really wanted to talk about the differences between the two different real prevalent designs that you see on the market in the spoon category. The first one is a jigging spoon. Okay, so like a Hopkins jigging spoon. This one is actually less spoon-like. You know, it doesn't really have any concave design qualities to it. It's just kind of a bait fish shaped hunk of metal. They come in, painted versions. They come in, shiny versions, which are pretty much still painted because, lead isn't super shiny. It's actually kind of dull. So to get that shiny look, you got to put some paint on it. But it's got a treble hook on the back. You can, usually it comes with a swivel on the front. If it doesn't, you should probably put one there. Very, very simple design. This one's been around for a long time. I use it in saltwater fishing too. It's really good for deep water. It gets down very, very quickly. And it's just amazing that these fish actually eat that thing. But then you have a category of spoon, real popular in just bass fishing. I mean, I don't know any other species that anglers use a jigging spoon or a flutter spoon in on a regular basis. But this one right here is the Strike King. I think it's called Sexy Spoon or something like that. Similar in that it has one treble hook on the back. I need to put a swivel on the front on this one. This one's a brand new one, all stock so far. But the main difference is it's much longer than a traditional jigging spoon. So like much longer than the Hopkins spoon. Sorry, I'm holding the rod and the camera at the same time. So a lot bigger, and they get much bigger than that too. Like in recent years, you got these dinner plate spoons, like these serving spoons of a lure. And so they range in size from like the 5-inch versions all the way up to like 10 and 11-inch versions and things like that, those Magnum spoons. But these are different. These are actually, when I think of a spoon, like if you were to take me, to the side and just be like, hey, point out the spoon out of these two, this one would be closer to what I would expect a spoon, just from the name, to be designed like. It's actually got that concave spoon design. You could use this as a spoon. Yeah, I could see myself eating some soup out of this thing. But so that's the main thing. It's not as it's a little bit more elongated. The metal is a little bit more spread out. It's less concentrated. It feels lighter, even though it may be the same weight as this one. It's just the metal's more dispersed. So this catches way more water, has more resistance while it's falling, and generally falls a lot slower than the jigging spoon. Now, here's the big difference between these two when it comes to where you should use one over the other. And really it has to do with the rate of fall and the type of fall that it has. The jigging spoon is going to have, again, a very fast fall, not a lot of resistance, and it also doesn't have that cupping, that spoon-like concave design. So it's really not going to catch the water like a flutter spoon will. It will flutter down, but in general, it's going to fall a lot faster. So to me, a jigging spoon is really good for vertical presentations when you're trying to get down to the fish a lot quicker, especially in very, very deep water. I first really started recognizing the effectiveness of a jigging spoon. I was actually fishing with my buddy Joey Nania when we were filming our old show Sweetwater. We were on Table Rock and we were catching fish out of like 40 or 50 feet of water. And the jigging spoon was the deal because you could cast it out there like a rock, or just drop it down below the boat if you see them on the graph, and you can get to the fish quick. Okay, so the Hopkins spoon or the jigging spoon, really good for deeper water, and also really good for fishing around timber, believe it or not. You'd think because of that treble hook that's on the back of this spoon that it really wouldn't be all that great in flooded timber. But the thing about a jigging spoon is the fact that it kind of acts as its own little plug knocker because it's so heavy. You can actually just get right on top of this bait when it snags and just lightly jiggle it. And that hook, more often than not, is just going to free itself because the bait is so heavy, which poses a problem when you've got a fish hooked up. The jigging spoon, you can lose a lot of fish with a jigging spoon just because, you know, the weight of the bait will actually, you know, especially if the fish jumps, it can really create a situation where there's a lot of leverage for that fish to shake that hook. So deep water, fishing around flooded timber, when you want a real reaction bite where the fish needs something that's fallen right in front of their face extremely quick, that's where a jigging spoon, or vertical fishing too, that's where the jigging spoon really excels. The flutter spoon category, on the other hand, also a good deep water technique, but not necessarily like real deep like the jigging spoon. The flutter spoon really excels in anywhere from like 10 foot of water to 30 feet of water. 30 feet of water is kind of pushing it for me with a flutter spoon. Usually if I'm fishing that deep, I'll use one of the bigger ones. They tend to fall a little bit faster, or a heavier one in general. I got a bunch of different ones. I forget who makes this one, but it goes down there pretty quick. But in general, these are going to go slower. They're going to catch more water, and they're going to, you know, flutter more on the fall. That's hence the name. So they're like doing this, and then all of a sudden they'll catch, you know, they'll kind of, you know, fall down pretty quick, and then they'll catch again and flutter some more. So you're still getting a reaction bite with a flutter spoon, and they do at times fall quickly, but in general, they don't fall as fast as a jigging spoon. The flutter spoons are really one of the, they're most well known for fishing on ledges. So places like Lake Chickamauga here, Gunnersville, Pickwick, those fisheries where you're catching fish in, you know, 15, 25 feet of water, and you're looking for a reaction bite. This is a really, really good option because it really imitates a shad that is, you know, possibly, you know, injured and falling out of a school of bait fish, and the fish really do react to it well. It's one of the first baits that I will pick up on a school, you know, when I first get to a school, or after I've fished the school with other techniques for a while. I'll pick up a spoon and you can get some extra bites, and a lot of times it's the biggest fish out of that school that attack these baits. Yeah, the flutter spoons, they really reflect a lot of light. They're a little bit slower fall, but they still get a good reaction strike. And just overall, they're kind of good for that moderate deep depth, you know, 15, 25, 30 feet or something like that. Both of these jigs, or both of these spoons, I'm going to be using generally on, you know, like 20-pound test. I like 20-pound test fluorocarbon for these. Sometimes with the flutter spoon, I may even go to like 25-pound test to slow the fall even more at times. But the big difference is the rod that I use with both of these. The flutter spoons, I like to use like a 7.6, either medium heavy for the smaller one, or a heavy, like a flipping stick with the bigger ones. Okay, and I'll go up to like a 7-10 foot rod with the Magnum spoons, and the way that you work them is way more aggressive. I mean, you're like, it's almost like you're setting the hook on a fish every single time you hop a flutter spoon. The jigging spoon, you can kind of just lift and drop. Oh, don't do that. Just hit my my door. But you just kind of lift and drop type of thing. You don't have to like rip it as hard, but you can totally rip the jigging spoon too. So the techniques are somewhat similar, but with a with a flutter spoon, you want to rip that sucker. So you want to make your co-angler or the person that you're fishing with think that you're setting the hook on a fish, essentially. But anyways, guys, just wanted to kind of outline the differences between these two categories of spoons. I think that they are an awesome type of bait to catch fish on. And they both of them excel in certain situations. I think the Hopkins spoon or the jigging spoon is one that people use less often, but quite honestly, it works extremely well under certain circumstances. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions, drop a comment below. Other than that, make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'm going to see you out on the water. Keep on spooning and trust the process.